regret is going to weigh higher than anything. Regret is going to be the worst feeling in the world. And I'm like, I'd rather make those sacrifices now and be sure that I'm on my way to like where I want to go, instead of roll the dice and see if it still works out and not make those sacrifices. And I'm telling you right now, the people you take your advice from has everything to do with where your mindset is.
Good evening, everybody. We are back in the building with another episode of the Dedication to Excellence podcast. I don't even know what episode we're on anymore. We have been on such a tear. The momentum is real. Dustin actually informed me, and this is pretty exciting, that what was it, Dustin? We reached number 47 in podcast in the Netherlands. Is that what we just did?
In the Netherlands.
Business podcast in the Netherlands, yeah. So I'm guessing there's about 48 business podcasts in the Netherlands. We made 47, but you know what? I'll take it. So you know what? Spotify, have your people call our people, and we'll get something popping. But definitely excited here. Dustin, how you feeling today, brother?
Nah, I'm feeling good. We got a rock star on here. He's making big moves, and I'm excited to dive into it.
Literally a rock star, pun intended. So for those of you listening for the first time, the purpose of this podcast is to not just inspire and motivate, but to give you real actionable steps and operational strategies from high achievers who have actually done the things we'll be discussing with them. Because guess what, folks? Once you're excited, you actually got to go out there, take action, and do some shit. So today's guest is the founder and CEO of Rock Real Estate Partners in New Mexico, which has been named one of the 50 fastest growing and most influential organizations in the Western region within the eXp Realty National Program, where he leads a team of over 60 agents. But now with his partnership, he tells me that it's going to go over 100 by the year 2022.
1,000.
1,000.
Excuse me.
1,000.
Forgot a zero there, over 1,000. And while he's doing that, he's also the host of the Rocstar Alliance Podcast. And I mean, I'm probably sure he's doing way more than just all that. I mean, he today was in a meeting with Tarek El Mousa, who you may recognize from HGTV's hit series Flip or Flop. So you already know the guy just making massive moves. We're excited to have you, bro. The Rock is in the building. As Jay-Z said, you could be anywhere in the world, but you decided to be here with us. So Ramon Casaus, hopefully I said that right.
Man, I need to step up my intros because thank you for the warm welcome. That was great.
Welcome to the pod, brother. Welcome to the pod, man. Happy to have you.
Thank you. Yeah, man. You were talking all those things, and I couldn't help but think. I love how you're talking about actionable steps that people are tangible takeaways they're gonna get, and you're gonna get all this info. You can get it from us. You can get it from anybody, but the only thing that matters is what you do with it after this call. The only thing that matters is what you do with it after you listen to this episode. And I'm ready to jump into it with you guys.
Let's get it, brother. So we're definitely going to get into the operational strategies, which is what we pride ourselves on the Dedication to Excellence podcast. But of course, we do want to get your background. I would ask you what it was like when you were young, but bro, you're still in your 20s, so you're still young. So what was it like when you were younger? Let's talk about the upbringing in the background real quick.
Dude, so I'm actually writing a book right now, okay? And my first chapter is why you are the way you are. And I'm so glad you asked that, because for me, reflecting on my childhood, which was great, by the way, I'm not one of those sob stories that tries to say how bad it was. I had a great childhood growing up. But understanding that a lot of times that voice in your head that tells you you're not good enough, or you're not going to be a millionaire, you're not going to go to that next level you're looking for, it's a self-limiting belief system that was instilled into you subconsciously when you were a kid. Now, for me, I'm so fortunate because I grew up with a family that was extremely supportive and always told me it doesn't matter what room you're in, you're just as capable as everybody else. You can do whatever you set your mind to, and all it takes is hard work and dedication. And that was that. And playing sports in school, that was what it was all about. So I had a great time up until college. It was fun, man. Sky's the limit.
You said you had a great time up until college?
Yeah. So I was actually involved in some entrepreneurial ventures when I was getting into college, and whether it was flipping cell phones, flipping cars, I kind of got my hands in everything. And, some of the stuff you get involved with situations and with different characters that like, hey man, you got two directions you can go, right? You can go the college route, we can get this degree and move on, or you can start fading off into this other little, slightly more sketchy route if you picking up what I'm putting down.
Yep.
So for me, I had to make a choice in college, and I had a great time, and I kind of followed the playbook of you play sports in high school, you get decent grades, but everybody kind of lets you slack a little bit because you're an athlete, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to college, it's a totally social environment. You have a bunch of friends. And then, you start, okay, well, I'm in my second, third year. I need to get a job, right? I need to start getting some job prospects. And I actually moved to Florida. And I work with a real estate investment trust, publicly traded, awesome company. Like, again, following society's blueprint, right? But what happened to me while I was there was, it's not a bad story. It's just something that like it clicked for me, where I always had like this, I want to do something. I have this job, right? But this isn't the end all. I got this thing going on. This is cool, but I got to work on what I'm really going to do. And I remember one Saturday I'm living in Tampa, Florida as a 21-year-old, right? I mean, life's good. I got my own place. I'm set up with this great company. I moved to Florida. I know I've never been to Florida, but it's awesome. And I get up on a Saturday, get in my gym, I work out everything in real early. And then what I do is I sit down on my computer. I'm like, okay, time to get to work. Like start on that grind on what I'm really going to do, what I'm passionate about. And I have Google opened up, and I don't even know what to type in. Like I'm like real estate, right? But like, and you type in real estate, you just get the most generic shit on the web.
How to real estate.
So what I learned in that moment is that my creativity was gone. And it freaked me out. Like that I never will forget that day in that apartment where I was doing that. And I'm like, okay, something's up here. This isn't how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be full of ideas, full of passion, full of drive, full of energy. Always thinking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plays down the road. And I don't even know what to type into Google.
Wow.
So from there, that's where the spark of getting my real estate license. I moved back to Albuquerque, New Mexico. And that's where kind of the idea of, well, what to do now.
What had brought you out to Florida originally?
So I was working for a real estate investment trust.
So you had relocated for the job.
Yeah. And so again, in college, you get offered an internship, you go down there, they send you back, assuming you graduate, then you get offered the job. And so
is that how college works? Because I totally didn't.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're getting to business school, for me at least, my last 2 years, yeah, you're looking for job prospects. I was tired of being broke. So the moment I was, done with school, I needed a job where I'm making money.
Mm-hmm.
So again, picture perfect, following society's blueprint on what you're supposed to do, quote unquote.
And then you go back to New Mexico.
Yep. Go back to New Mexico. I'm like, all right, what to do now? What should I do now? And my dad actually tells me, I think you should get your real estate license. I think you'd be really good at it. And I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to be a realtor. Like, I don't know about all that. And I started thinking about it, and he's like, well, because he's a custom home builder. He told me that, these guys do really good, man. If you put your mind to it, you'll be good. And it's a business that you can really use your creativity in. So I ended up getting my real estate license my last semester in college, sold my first house while I was in college, made like $9,000 on that one commission check. And then it clicked. I was like, if I can do this 100 times in 1 year, I'll make $900,000. All right. I like this business.
How did you source that first deal as a college student? Who was crazy enough to trust a 22-year-old, 21-year-old?
This is why you got to be nice to all your teachers. If you're younger and you're growing up, I sold my first home to I think it was my 7th grade. No, it was my 10th grade math teacher.
Yeah. Circle. And how do you approach that? Because I know there's a lot of people who enter real estate and a lot of people who never do anything once they enter real estate. So what did you do? Was it just a cold outreach? Like, how did you put yourself out there initially to start getting this interest?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, a lot of times if somebody else pays for your real estate school or someone else pays for your college, you don't take it as serious when you get there. For me, when I decided to get my real estate license, I didn't have the money. So I worked for a company called Western Explosive Demolition Systems, where I would basically go to mine quarries and I would fill 500, 600, 1,000 holes that are like this size with ammonium nitrate and explosives, and we blow up the rock.
Sounds awesome.
It was great, but it was the hardest work of my life. And I did that for 4 or 5 months just to get enough money to invest in real estate. So once I got my license, there was no like, okay, hey man, I didn't do all that bullshit for nothing, right? Can we curse on here, by the way? Are we curse friendly? Okay.
No, you're good. We got that check mark checked.
Yeah.
Because once I start getting warmed up, it's just I get creative with it.
Well, what up, bro? Pretend it's that dynamite that you used to fuck with.
But here's the thing: is that I want to give you this is a very tangible concept that that all real estate professionals, or just people in general, can take away. But I want to put it in real estate terms for you. So what happens is that we are so caught up in leads in real estate. Lead. And so you could say this for a lot of sales. But if somebody doesn't have a sticker on their forehead that says, I want to buy or sell a property, technically in your business, they're nobody to you. Mm-hmm. Right? Would you agree with that? It's like, so what happens is that you have these blinders on where all you're thinking about is, I just need to find someone who's going to give me intent to buy or sell a property today. Mm-hmm. But what happens is you start discounting the rest of the world. You don't know who somebody else knows. You don't know what their situation is. So it's a methodology we call lifetime value. And this is how it works. If you are going to help one person buy a house, okay? Well, each buyer and seller, which they end up turning being both, they buy or sell a house every 5 to 7 years. So let's just say your career starts today. You're going to be in business for 20 years, okay? Let's round down. Let's just say that first client is going to buy 3 properties from you in the course of your entire career. Are you following me? Okay. So if you're able to properly connect with this person and establish a real relationship and provide value to them after the sale, which is probably the most important part, is the relationship after the first sale, you should be able to get 2 referrals every single year for 20 years, minimum 2 referrals. Okay. So now we have our 2 referrals times 20, which is 40 deals. Then you have the 3 transactions that they did personally. You guys following me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
At a low $250,000 average sales price of each home and a 3% commission, that's going to be $322,000 over the course of your career. So my point being is that it's not like I'm saying, hey, this person's worth $322,000 to me. I'm saying that from the first interaction, the first phone call, the first handshake, the first conversation, the first time you even get in the proximity of this person, you should be treating them like they already gave you the $322,000. That's lifetime value. Because here's what happened. I have people, when I first started, they are the best referral sources for me. But guess what? They never even bought a house from me. They never even sold a property. They just loved me and loved the value that I gave them every time we got into contact, not just in real estate, just with anything I could possibly help them with. So I may not have got those 3 sales, but I definitely got the 2 referrals every single year. Mm-hmm. So people look at it backwards. They try to go, well, I just want to focus on the people who want to buy and sell right now. I'm like, I want to focus on everybody, because those referrals, they add up. And you don't need the most clients. You just need the most loyal clients. And that's where people get it a little twisted in real estate with all this online lead generation and all this other shit that's going on.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you're really looking at the long game here and not just the quick game, which I really love. So a question that begs for me is, you're constantly building and nurturing a network. Like, logistically, how do you keep in contact and provide value to that many people? Like, what CRM are you using? Are they on an email campaign? Are you scheduling follow-up phone calls, remembering birthdays, all of the above? Like, what is your strategy when it comes to cultivating those relationships long-term?
So I have whole formula and blueprint for you on this. Okay.
Break it down, brother.
The way that, if you look at lifetime value, right, you're treating everyone with lifetime value. Well, if I just say, hey, what's up, Eugene? Nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. I don't get your phone number. I don't add you on social media. I don't get your email. I mean, the chances of me and you coming back into contact are pretty slim, okay? Unless you're my neighbor or something. But what happens, you want to think about your business like a communication ecosystem. And once somebody comes in your life, you have to know where you're going to place them in the ecosystem. Okay. And you want to make it very, very simple. Now, I have 5 S's that I use to map out this process. Okay. And one of them is systematic. You can't just do something once and expect a result. It has to be systematic. Number 2, it has to be sales oriented. We're not here just to, shake hands and high fives. We want to make some sales. So it has to be geared towards your end goal. Number 3 is it has to be scalable. Okay. Mm-hmm. And scalable is because you don't want to, you can't run your business in the ground trying to come up with new emails every single day. Right. Mm-hmm. The other one, it has to be service oriented, which means you have to come from a place of help, a place of a giver's gain mentality. Okay. And then the last one, it has to be super personal. It has to be super personal. It can't just be generic things like, hey, have you thought about buying or selling a home? Like that stuff doesn't work. Like, I ask you a question. How many generic emails do you open and actually read through yourself? Honestly.
None.
None.
So I'm like, I understand you're in real estate and you're special and, but the rule doesn't not apply to you. So no one's going to read your generic emails anyway. Sorry to break it to you. Yeah. So you do have to use that communication ecosystem, right? And you have to use that CRM, which the CRM is the absolute foundation of any successful real estate agent. And you have to learn in that lifetime value conversation, that first interaction, you have to take something personal and put it up here and put it into that CRM. And then that's kind of the hook you use to re-engage the conversation and show that you paid attention. I can't say enough about the CRM. That is the absolute foundation of a successful real estate broker, hands down.
Which CRM do you recommend or use yourself?
There's a bunch out there, man. And the trick is the best CRM that was ever created is the one you actually use.
Facts.
Yep. But I do have a few for you. You could do KV Core, Chime. If you're really ready to step it up and you're running a big team, Keep, KEAP, which is it's a sister company of Infusionsoft, or formerly known as Infusionsoft. There's another platform called Real Geeks, and Follow Up Boss would be like my top 5 recommendations.
So you've used all, or you currently use them?
I've used all.
Capacities? Okay.
Yeah. So like Keep handles our entire organization, and then each of our brokers have a KV Core account. But I've used all of those, and they're good for depending on where you're at in your career. Some are more basic, some are more complex, some focus more on lead gen. I mean, again, there's so many bells and whistles, but the reality is if you're not using it day to day, it literally doesn't even matter. You should just use an Excel sheet, honestly.
For sure. Yeah. So were you always this operationally inclined? I mean, because I know a lot of times you got the person who's great at sales, but is very disorganized. Then you got the person who's very organized, but they can't sell. It sounds like you've got a bit of both in you. Was that always the case, or did you have to find partners around you that complemented your strengths?
So I mean, of course I want to say I think I'm good at operations. I would put myself at like a half, 50-50. I'm one day I'm good, one day I'm not. And I think that I think I'm better at the strategy part. Now the necessary or the devil in the details type of work, that's not really me, but conceptually I know what I want to happen. And I've been able to surround myself I have a fantastic admin team of 7 now, and we're in the trenches every single day. I mean, before I got on this, we're sitting here on the couch in our place, our studio here in California, and we're jotting down notes and we're game planning and piecing it all together. I mean, we do this almost every single day.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, while we're on the subject of teams, let's start talking about that, and let's start talking about scale here, because a lot of agents, they become agents and then, I mean, they don't ever sell, but then some of them do end up selling, but still remain a single person operation their entire career. Yep. Where did that transition occur in your mind from saying, hey, I'm killing it on my own, but how great would that be to build an organization, and how did that process take off?
Yeah. So I think, I just posted something today, and I made it very clear that I've been a broke real estate agent. I've been a team leader of 50, and I've been an independent brokerage owner. And I was the youngest in the state to do it ever. So, but not every one of those positions is meant for everybody. And so a lot of people, you listen to this, you'd be blown away how many teams go for ego numbers. Oh, I got $100 million pending, right? Oh, we did 7 figures of revenue. I'm like, do you know how easy it is to do 7 figures of revenue in real estate? Come on. That's just an ego number. What are you actually taking home? Because like I tell our agents now, they're like, oh, you're the owner, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, I gave up like a $500,000 salary to go be a qualifying broker. Like I was making $500,000 selling real estate, 500K at 24, 25 years old. And the next year I made like 50,000 because I opened my own company. Not every person is willing to take that type of risk, and some of them shouldn't. So before you go, I want to open a team or I want to start a team, I would go, why? Mm-hmm. What's your end goal? Mm-hmm. Because you might just convolute your life. You might just make less money, and you actually might find less happiness leading a team, because that leadership position is not for everybody. So there's so many ways to structure your real estate business. But I think first, like, you just have to look at like, what are you truly good at and what do you really enjoy? Me, I love leadership. I love building culture. Like I'm way better at that than I ever was at selling real estate. And I'm pretty good at selling real estate too. So for me, it was like, you know what? If the sky falls out tomorrow, I'd rather have this organizational leadership ability, these skills I'm developing, rather than selling houses. Even though I know I'll have more monetary gains selling houses, I'm looking to invest up here and invest in my network first, because I know that'll make me far more money in the future than just knowing how to buy or sell property would. So that was my why. But I think everyone has to look at, what do they truly want out of their career?
Awesome. So that was the mindset decision. How did you actually then go about executing on that vision?
So I have this parallel, and it's like, you only have, can't see my hands. There you go. You only have so much runway. All right. This is the deal, is that I don't care. And I say runway, I mean like not your age, but your entrepreneurial journey. But chances are it lines up pretty well with your age. So what happens is that early on, okay, I got me, myself, and I to look out after, right? I just got to feed myself and get myself to work, like big deal. So I can take that type of salary cut now, okay? Wife, kids, girlfriends, vacations, cars, houses, investments, 10 years into your runway, you can't make that. You can't make that type of sacrifice anymore because you're so vested in other things, which is fine. But for me, I was all about making sacrifices early on. Like it wasn't about the money. It was about the vision. And so how do you go and execute on that is you don't ask anybody for permission ever. You just fucking do it. Simple as that. And if you're bought into your vision and you're committed 110%, time and money is irrelevant. That just happens to be a byproduct of however long it takes you to reach that goal. And so for me, I was never like, oh, well, how am I going to do this? I mean, dude, you structure it, restructure it. Hey, okay, if I'm bringing in $200,000 worth of commissions now, because I'm running the team brings another 200. My operating costs are 150. I got 250 to play with. Okay, 250, great. How many more people can I hire with that 250 and still stay afloat? Okay, now I got to do X amount of more deals on the team. Well, how do I get the team to do more deals? Well, I got to bring in more lead generation for them. It's just scaling, and you're gonna ride this wave of growth, right? Like you're making money, but you're also reinvesting in the business. But knowing your numbers is one of the areas where I fucked up royally. I just had mountains of cash in bank accounts, like many young entrepreneurs do, and don't know what the hell they're doing. And so you can't make decisions. You don't know how to make decisions based off of the actual performance of your company. So this is how I want to explain this, because I feel like, did you play sports? I'd imagine you played basketball. I just have a feeling.
Is it the Michael Jordan poster in the background that gave it away?
Just when you said Bay Area, everyone I'm always like, they had to play basketball. That's big up in that.
And I'm
area.
Filipino, so yeah.
So you did?
Yeah, I played basketball in high school until this day. I'm playing tomorrow morning.
So here's my analogy for basketball, and this goes for CRM usage, but I want to bring this back down to your finances and understand the KPIs of your business, the key performance indicators. I'm a pretty athletic guy. Okay, I can shoot hoops. I can do all that. But what happens is, would you agree with me that no matter how athletic I am or naturally good, there is a level of performance on the court that my raw athletic ability and my raw talent will not get me past anymore?
Oh, 10 million %.
Mhm.
Okay. And why? It's because somebody else learned the fundamentals right from early on and kept practicing them and mastering the fundamentals throughout their entire career. So that's my point about any young broker or business owner. When I say young, I mean young in your journey, young in your runway. Establishing that foundation, doing the little things right, like accounting your business properly and knowing exactly in a real estate business, what are you bringing in 30 days? What are you bringing in 60? And how much are you spending each month? That's the easiest way to make projections on your business. But that's where I probably could have had more growth. Except I was like, I don't know if I can afford that because I just have a mountain of cash. I kind of know what I'm spending, but not really. I kind of know what I'm paying in payroll, but like it's an estimate. That shit doesn't fly and it doesn't get you far. I've had to go back and do the hard learning and teaching myself, my business partner, to get good at that. And it's painful when you have to redo it and you're so busy and you're already so far along in your journey. Doing it from day one is how you're going to be able to scale your business, is knowing your numbers, hands down.
So the not sexy stuff is how you do
Dude,
it.
Yeah.
nothing. I feel like nothing except this type of stuff that I do is sexy. This is fun. Like I just get to talk openly and I like doing this stuff. But yeah, man, the behind the scenes it gets grueling. It gets grunt work, but someone has to do it.
But someone has to fucking do it. So let's talk about those fundamentals. What would you say are the daily fundamentals of a successful high level real estate professional?
So I always like to take an inside out approach with anybody in real estate. You got to be right here and right here first. That's a must. So, you know, I don't like getting all into the, you know, morning routines and this is what I do. And, you know, if people want to know, I can explain that, but you have to make sure that you are primed and ready every single day, no matter what's going on, because people are counting on you to be that backstop, to be that emotional safety place for them to make their real estate decisions. They're counting on you to be that solid foundation, to be that trusted advisor. So if you're, you know, up and down emotionally and you can't be reached, you are, you know, aren't unavailable in normal business hours, like how do you expect to do business? But a lot of times the most successful real estate people, they're emotional as fuck. They are like, dude, they're like psychotic emotionally, but that's what drives them to extremes and outwork the performance. But what a lot of them need to do is they need to check themselves at the front door, and they need to make sure they're that getting that morning routine, getting that readiness for each day and getting yourself in a rhythm. That is number one. Number two would be you run your day around your prospecting, not your prospecting around your day. That means that you're prospecting, how you bring in new business, that's a ritual. Rituals aren't broken ever. And that's how successful real estate agents keep up their production. And then the last thing I would say is this is a 24/7 game. That's one of the core values of our company is 24/7. If you don't like that, you're probably in the wrong business. I can tell you right now, the highest performers are 24/7 with their business. It doesn't matter weekend, Monday, Tuesday, Sunday, church, school, does not matter. So if you want to play at the highest level, you need to make sure you're available and you're operating 24/7, or you put systems and controls in place to make sure your business is operating 24/7.
Bro, the more I talk to you, the thought that comes to my mind is just militant. You are militant about this. And I love the discipline, man. It's becoming very apparent as to why you're having the levels of success you are. So maybe to shift gears here a little bit, you've made some high level moves now recently that we were kind of talking about before the podcast. This major partnership that a few months ago has exponentially increased the size of your team, potentially when it's all said and done. So walk us through, I guess, first of all, what kicked that off and what you have envisioned, and strategically why you saw that as the right move to make for your guys' organization moving forward.
Sure. So the mission of our company is to be the most trusted and elite real estate experience in the world. So to give you a big vision on how we cast it, and you ask anyone in our admin team, they know exactly what I'm talking about. They know that mission. We talk about it almost every day. So that's been the goal. Like from the time my business partner, he's walking around somewhere here. He'll probably laugh from the time we were in his garage making our first website. I actually have a picture of it. We're in his garage, like making it like, dude, we're gonna take over the world. And it's funny because now like we're actually having conversations with brokerages that we're looking to bring on in Mexico. We actually have calls with the South African team, down in South Africa about looking to do some attraction and some recruitment in that area. It's kind of surreal, but we're like, man, this is what we knew we wanted to do. And so once you know what the vision is, and it's not like this, dude, I hate like the part about real estate I don't like is the vanilla-ness, if that's even a word. Like
it is
different house, different sport coat on, smile with the team, here for all your real estate needs. Like, dude, that's so fucking boring. Gosh. And so they make these missions like, we want to, serve our clients to the best of our ability and have fun doing it. It's like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, how do you attract like A-level performers to that? How do you grow with, and maybe they don't want to grow. Maybe they're not, crazy about the type of stuff like I am. But I think, when you get very clear on what your mission is, you should be like kind of embarrassed of your mission. Like I would be lying to you straight up if I said I was never embarrassed to tell somebody what the mission of my company is, because it makes me so nervous and it makes me so insecure.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you make a mission of your business, it's not, and I love core values and mission statements. I call it the why we exist statement. When you make them crystal clear on what you want to accomplish. And who gives a fuck what anyone else thinks? Because somebody else's opinion of you is none of your business. So who cares?
Preaching.
Okay. And when you put that type of expectation on yourself, you start to see things differently because hey, either this opportunity gets me closer to this, it gets me, in the right proximity, it shoots me in the right trajectory, or it doesn't. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. And so when we were in New Mexico, I started this brokerage and everything was great, man. I mean, yeah, do we have hard times and good times like everybody? Yes. July of this year was on record our best month of sales ever. And the next month we transitioned our company. Couple reasons. Number one, I think I told you this as we were chatting before, you cannot put a price tag on surrounding yourself with ambitious people. And not just like ambitious, but guys who are talking about being billionaires. That's the type of ambition I want to be around. It's a conversation I was a part of last night. And so with that network that eXp Realty provided us with, it's the reason why I've been able to get around guys who that's the conversations they're having. Like, think about what that does to you as a real estate broker. Like, how can you just sit around and just be average after being around groups like that? You can't.
Can you really quickly just give some context to those listening in who don't know what eXp Realty is and how you kind of fit into that organization, like how this is structured?
eXp is the fastest growing brokerage in North America and soon to be the entire globe. They are a cloud-based virtual platform brokerage with no brick and mortar. So what this means is that I can sign into the same brokerage that you sign into. I'm here in California, you're somewhere in New York. We have the same sign on into the same cloud office. And cloud office doesn't mean that you don't meet in person or like you're not allowed to talk to people or get close in person. That's not what it means. It just means that all your access, all your support, all your technology, your qualifying broker, your entire support system and education is all just one click away anytime you want it.
Got it. Okay, cool. Beautiful. So would it be kind of parallel to maybe being acquired in a sense that you now have the backing of a parent company?
Correct. So yeah, exactly. So, we called it a merger because it is a true partnership. And the way that it works is you can look at eXp like this. And this is why I love it. It's like the entrepreneur's dream real estate brokerage. Because most brokerages have so much red tape. You got to bleed the colors of the brokerage and you got to, red, blue, whatever, and I'm not into that. I want to fly my own flag. And so eXp is like a white label. It's like a white label brokerage software.
Got it.
And now I get to add my own spin on it, add my brand, add my culture, and I get to run with it as far as I want. And that's what I love about this business.
It's fucking dope, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So what are some of the major things you have envisioned then moving forward now that you have this new backing and these new resources? I mean, is it pretty much business as usual? You just plan on going 100 times harder, or like what is the next 3 to 5 years look like now that you have this help?
Sure. So, our goal at the end of 2021 is to have 1,000 brokers in our organization. Right now, we are just about pacing out for that, where we are on track. We're using the rest of the last 2 months of the year to really make sure. So when we start January in 2021, we know for sure we're on track. And man, my thing is, I grew up with a lot of confidence. That's how I was raised. I was raised by a very masculine father. Like, I mean, if it's cold outside and you got your sleeves rolled up a little bit because you're cold, it was like, hey, get your hands out of your sleeves. Like, that's what girls do. Like, call it whatever you want. But I was born with, I had a gift for like just kind of doing things and not really thinking about it and not asking for permission. And what I'd love to do is the culture we've created in our company. I've watched that be like, it's crazy because that'll be the catalyst for somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It's just adding a little bit of confidence into their life and teaching them how to do something and talking to them about what they're good at and putting them in positions to succeed. Watching guys twice my age gain confidence in themselves and their lives and their business that they didn't have before. Like watching that process of somebody truly living a better life because they got around you and your circle. There's like money, there's nothing that replaces that. And so my goal was to do that with as many brokers in that organization as I possibly can. So I know 1,000 is the number, but I don't know however far it goes. We're going to take it as far as we can.
So when you're going to be building an organization that big, obviously there's a foundation that you have to create so the skyscraper doesn't topple over. And a big part of that, besides the processes, is going to be the personnel. And you talk leadership. So let's talk about your thoughts on developing other leaders, because you just talked about developing maybe the producer who's coming into real estate as a novice, who hasn't maybe had a degree of success yet. Then you help them have their first taste of success. But let's talk about attracting high-level leaders, because you're going to have to be able to scale your leadership ability as you grow to 1,000 people, and just kind of your thoughts around developing others to be just not contributors, but leaders.
So that was a very, very great question, because you really summed up what my job is, like in a couple sentences, because that's exactly what I have to do. Because the multiplication effect and the exponential growth will now come from my ability to recreate other leaders that go create other leaders, and so on and so forth. That's where the exponential growth comes from in our business. So that's a very interesting that you said that.
It's a roadblock I've hit. This is for personal. I need your help here, brother.
Well, there's one simple rule that I keep at top of mind with leadership is there's no such thing as bad teams, only ineffective leaders. And I think that when you're going on a leadership journey, you're really going on a deep dive into yourself first. I'll be honest with you. I had to do some serious work on myself. And, people like, oh, you got these 60, 100 brokers and you have this team and you got, I was not like that before. And I had to do like the most basic shit. I would get consulting on, like friends of mine would help me, like the way I move my hands. I have kind of a aggressive like look sometimes that it's like a resting bitch face for a guy though. And I have kind of an intimidating demeanor. And I had to really work on that, like working on my shoulders, working how I move my eyes when I don't like something I hear. I'm not kidding. I would sit in my office on Friday nights and I would practice like I'm presenting to my sales team, which was at the time was like 5 people, 6 people. And I had these guys, Ryan and Ian, I'll never forget them. They were awesome friends of mine and consultants, and they would help me learn how to, how to give compliments, how to lead with confidence, how to learn the dichotomy of leadership. Sometimes you got to turn the heat all the way up. Other times you have to have company meetings where you guys just go around and talk about, hey, what's Eugene's superpower? Let's all go around the room and talk about what we think Eugene is truly good at and what his superpower is. And people are like crying and they're laughing. And it's just, sometimes your team needs that more than needs you to turn up the gas on them. turn up the heat. And knowing how to balance your team, it all comes down to checking yourself at the door, yourself first, and then gauging temperature every single day. So anyone in my office knows the first thing I'll do is I get to the office, I will go around every single department and say, what's up? And yeah, of course I want to greet them, but I'm looking for cues. I'm looking for excitement. I'm looking for someone who's kind of down. I'm looking for someone who has a problem, because already I just gauged the temperature for the day, and it gave me an idea of how I need to act today, what I need to do, where my focus point should be. And I think that checking yourself at the door and being able to gauge the temperature of your organization every single day or every time you get the chance to, that's a great just 1-2 process on how to be more effective. I mean, I could talk about this stuff for hours. I don't think you guys want to hear all of it, but
bro,
that's the tangible takeaways.
If this has to be a 4 or 5 part episode, I am not mad. Are you a John C. Maxwell fan? It sounds like you're spinning a lot of John C. Maxwell. Yeah.
I know who John is. I am a huge fan of this book. It's called Multipliers. I don't know I can't remember the author. I should. It's like the only book called Multipliers, but that book was one of the biggest changes on my idea of what leadership was. And it goes all back to the dichotomy. And the book has 2 things you can be. You can either be a multiplier of intelligence or a diminisher of intelligence. And unfortunately, I did see a lot of diminishing traits in myself, and learning how to lead with questions, right? Not always having to have the right answers, elaborating on ideas instead of shutting them down. These are things that a lot of people you do, not because you're trying to hurt your employees, but just because as a D-type personality, which a lot of leaders are in the DISC profile, you're so driven and determined. If it doesn't make sense at that moment, you're like, nope, shut it down. This is the mission. And you're so one-track minded. But what you're doing is you're creating a culture of lack of confidence, because they don't feel like they have the right answers anymore. Because Ramon shoots on everything. Everything I say is a bad idea. Why should I even try? I don't even know anymore. I thought I knew this business, but I don't. Or they go, I'll just wait till Ramon says something, because whatever I say, he just does what he wants anyway. So we'll just let him make the call. Like, that's the type of culture you're creating, and you don't even know it. And it's detrimental to any organization.
One thing I can definitely commend you on from this conversation is it sounds like you're practicing what you preach. You've checked your ego out the door, because one thing I've struggled with is being open to receiving that feedback. Because we like to think, a lot of times our own shit doesn't stink. We know it does, but it's hard, especially like how you said, you grew up with a masculine frame, being able to admit that you're wrong, being able to admit that you have shortcomings. So what is your advice to anybody maybe dealing with that personal ego block that is allowing them to not be coachable and holding them back?
2 things. One, this is I just escaped me. I'll remember it in a sec. Theodore Roosevelt quote: "Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care." That's been a hard one for me, because going back to, like, I was saying, my first chapter in my book, like, my dad, who was my best friend and the guy who I spent the most time with, he didn't have a family. Like, he didn't have a mom, he didn't have a dad. His dad died, he was a drunk, and he died of cirrhosis of the liver, and he was like 40. His mom took off on him while they were like 2 or 3 years old. He grew up with grandparents that didn't even speak English. So imagine growing up in the 80s with 3 brothers and grandparents that don't speak English. You don't have the warm, loving family that everyone wants. You don't got that. It's a little cold at times. So I was raised by him. And it's look out for yourself. It's be tough. It's don't complain. And so I kind of lack that sensitivity chip sometimes. That emotional intelligence doesn't come first. Like, it doesn't come firsthand to me. So learning that it doesn't even matter like how much I know or how well versed I am in real estate. If my team doesn't know how much I care about them, about their well-being, how much I want them to win, like, the rest of it's kind of for nothing. And I didn't realize that as a leader, the way you act in your own office, it affects how people go home and live their life at their kitchen table. like for me, I never like, and you know, it sounds so stupid now, but I was an idiot. So I never realized that if I walked up to one of my employees and said, hey, you know, I was actually talking about a particular one that I was kind of frustrated with. They said, you know, Ramon, if you went and stopped by his desk today and you went, hey, his name's Daniel. He's our marketing director. He's the best. But me and him gone through some shit together. Hey man, you know, I just wanted to let you know you're doing such a phenomenal job. And our company, like it just wouldn't be doing what it's doing without your input. Like the way you're able to market and the way you're able to come up with ideas, create them and bring them to light, people love them. Like you're the best at it. And I can't tell you how happy I am that you're with us. I didn't think that when he goes home and, you know, got the kids coming, hey dad, and the wife asks, how was your day? I would never in a million years have thought he was going to go, hey, you know what? Things are really looking good. You know, Ramon, he told me how good I was at the creative side. And, you know, I would have never thought that, because what also can happen is they go home and go, you know what? That guy, Ramon, sometimes I want to throw him off his own fucking balcony. You know, I think, you know, your uncle, does he still have that job that he was talking about? Because I need to look into it. That's the conversations you can create at the dinner table, and it's up to you. And I think there's short-term ego and there's long-term ego. Here's a short-term ego. I want to win this little petty argument about the color or what the font should be on our sign because I think it should be this way. Okay. Grand scheme of things, does that really matter? Does it really negatively impact your ego for what you want long-term in your life?
Wow.
Then why deal with it? Why even, who cares? Instead, even if you don't like the font, hey man, that looks good. That was a good call on that. I like that. Who cares? The font is irrelevant. That's your short-term ego trying to talk to you and tell you, no, you got to do it your way because you're the boss, you're the leader, you're the fucking man around here. And we all have that voice, but you had to learn, hey man, is this my short-term ego talking to me, or is this really the long-term thing? I need to make a decision here that's going to affect my long-term goals. And I can tell you right now, font is probably not going to be it.
Dustin, I just want to say I appreciate you. The value you bring to this podcast. We wouldn't run the way we do if it wasn't for you. Go and tell your wife and daughter. Bro, I'm about to listen to this episode like
I've been on fly on the wall. You guys have been on
this has become my personal therapy session here. So
yeah,
appreciate you, Ramon.
Yeah, man, it's fun, man. I enjoy this stuff, and leadership side is where I really try to do my best. Like that's my game right now is being able to lead an organization, lead a team, attract leaders, and then teach them the leadership qualities that I'm trying to convey on this podcast right now. And you know, I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm a student of the leadership game, I guess you could say.
When is the book dropping, man? You already sold one here.
I think we're looking at in early December. I believe we should be able to pull it off in December.
What's your writing process like? How did the book come to be? Because that's something I feel like everyone says they want to do, but few actually get around to doing it. And I know there's different creative styles. So what was your creative process like in writing this book? So,
you know, the process for writing the book was interesting. So I struggle with the same thing where I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna write this book. Yeah, I got better things to do, right? I mean, we all know you're not gonna make much money off the book, but if one person reads this book and it helps them in any way, shape, or form, it's worth every dollar I spent on it to make it. And I have a friend, his name's Mike Fallett, okay? The Dream Starter Publishing Company, okay? Rewind that back if you didn't hear that. Mike Fallett, the Dream Starter Publishing. And he has an awesome service that you actually talk in a Zoom like this, and they transcribe your writing.
Let's go.
Okay. And so, yeah, you got to be very detailed and you have to talk through the chapters, but it's a great opportunity to find a fast and efficient way to do the book without killing yourself over it. Now, don't get me wrong. Like if I really want to do it, I type it out, I could do it. But Mike has a great service. He's also helps on the creative end quite a bit. And I'd recommend him to anybody looking to do a book.
Does it transcribe word one-to-one? You say it and then it types it, or are you with somebody and it's like a conversation? Okay.
So like what'll happen is we'll do an interview like this. Then we have two writers who are watching the entire thing, You can't see them. And they're taking notes and they're actually watching your personality. They're listening to cues. And it's not like we talk through the chapter, the whole book. I mean, we bullshit between chapters, but they're trying to listen to my voice and they're trying to kind of go into character when they're writing. So then it transcribes everything. And then what they do is they start going filling the voids, filling the gaps and making it flow like they're in character of you after they just listen to you talk for like 6 to 8 hours. We break it up into different interviews, but it's such a cool process, man. It's really fun.
Yeah, that's great. Processing. Hell yeah.
Publishing. Yeah. Dream Style Publishing. Yes. Or not Dream Style, excuse me. Dream Starter Publishing. Yeah.
Nice. It's like Gary Vee style. He didn't have the patience to write a book, so he just pretty much talked at it.
I mean, here's my 2 cents is that very rare does anybody actually write the book. I mean, let's just be real. But I think I'm going to I think the book is going to be called No Permission Needed. And I think the takeaway from that is just, and it talks about kind of my process, how I kind of came into this role I'm in now, and a lot of the inside out approach to like introspective work that I had to do on myself, establishing what I'm really good at, what I'm really not good at, why I am the way I am, what keeps me ticking, and what I'm really passionate about. Once you find what those things are, you can put yourselves in the right position to succeed. Like the roles that you should be in start becoming more evidently clear. And if there was one thing I leave anybody with, it's that no one's ever going to say, hey, Eugene, time to start your podcast, dude. You're about this time in your career. And, now's the time. I mean, it's just not going to happen. You have to do.
To be fair, though, Dustin kind of did do that. And that's kind of how this did start. But
well, you're a lucky guy to have a good friend like that who pushes the pace, but not everyone has that. Yeah. And it just comes down to you're never going to get permission to do anything. Like you look at people who write music. I watched this David Letterman show. Have you guys seen that? The Who's My Next Guest with David Letterman?
Nah.
No.
Have you seen that? It's on Netflix. Well, these different people that are on there, and they're great, by the way. But a lot of them kind of get to the point where they're like, yeah, I mean, I was just willing to put something out into the world and be judged over and over and over. And I didn't give a fuck what anyone else thinks. And now they're a famous celebrity making millions of dollars writing hit records. But it all started because they didn't ask for permission to be themselves, to drop that first album, to shoot that first video, to start that first YouTube channel. They just did it. Mm-hmm. And they were not afraid to put something out into the world for it to be judged and people to be critical of it. And that's what stops most people, is that they've never done anything to be judged. They never put anything out in the world to get judged. And it's scary. I get it. But you're either gonna suppress that voice in your head or you're not. And that's the simple fact.
And that's really been go ahead. I was just going to say that's been the major theme of our podcast is taking that imperfect action.
Yeah. So we've covered a lot of leadership, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, and just personal growth and mental toughness and fortitude that has developed you into the leader that you are today. So let's go on a wide net of just being an entrepreneur as a whole. Somebody entering the scene that, may have those handicaps of, not being quite in touch with their emotional side and having blinders to certain cues that they should be looking at. What are a couple things that you would recommend, either books, mentorship, or just little cues that they can add into their daily habits that can actually help them grow into that?
For sure. When you're first starting as an entrepreneur, a lot of times you're strapped for cash too. I was definitely there. But just remember is that the greatest investment is in your own mind, in your own brain. That's the greatest investment you can ever make. I still spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every year on entrepreneurship groups, on travel to get into the rooms and into the conversation I want to get to in person. Yep. I'll sign up for webinars. Like I have no ego about signing up for other people's shit or subscribing to someone else's podcast. Like
that's why we're in RTA, right?
Yeah, man. So like RTA Syndicate has been great, man. I mean, it's amazing that when they talk about lifetime value, there was a realtor in Albuquerque. His name's David Roybal, and he introduced me to the RTA concept. My career has been catapulted because of what since I got into RTA, because of the connections, the people I met. I mean, they get all the way down to that book. The book we're writing was because of that first realtor I met that introduced me to RTA, and then it just, it went from there. So. As somebody else starting off, this is what you have to really think about is there's a lot of bullshit on social media. Like we all know that, but it's an amazing tool to connect with people. Again, Either you're going to let that voice get in the way of you messaging somebody, of you reaching out, of you joining groups, of you paying for education. Either you're going to invest with faith or you're going to save in fear.
Oh,
That's you got one or two options there. And it's invest in faith or save with fear. And I can't stress the importance enough of this. When you look at people, there's so much bullshit out there. There's so much bullshit. You have to find the real ones. And I can't tell you how to find the real ones, but they're out there. Arte, real ones. Yep. 365 Driven, Tony Watley, real ones. There's a ton of good guys there. And this is what you got to look at. I'm not going to take leadership advice from Eugene if he's never been in a leadership position. Okay. I'm not going to take stock advice from Eugene if I wouldn't trade places with his portfolio. Like if I'll swap Eugene's portfolio for mine, I'll probably take his advice. I wouldn't take advice, somebody who's trying to give me relationship advice on my marriage. I'm not married, by the way, but if I was married, I wouldn't take advice from Eugene if he's been divorced 5 times. Like you have to start getting very clear about who you listen to, because your own family, you're probably going to have to cut out some of them. That's just not cut off, like, not talk to them, but just have to let them talk. And you're going to have to put up that wall and, take it for what it's worth, grain of salt, and leave it at that. But you have to start limiting the voices that are telling you things that don't make any sense because they don't know what they're talking about. And you have to start looking and finding clear-cut channels of people who you want what they have, and whatever they have, they're giving you advice on how to get.
Mm-hmm.
And getting very clear like that. It's almost like it's almost liberating for me right now in my life to listen to somebody tell me something that doesn't align with the things I know are true. Because at that very moment, I say, hey, that's my friend, that's my buddy. Like I'm always there for them. But like, that's not someone I'm making a conscious effort to continue a relationship with.
Mm.
It just doesn't fit my goal. And like, for me, I know that regret is going to weigh higher than anything. Mm-hmm. Regret is going to be the worst feeling in the world. And I'm like, I'd rather make those sacrifices now and be sure that I'm on my way to like where I want to go, instead of roll the dice and see if it still works out and not make those sacrifices. And I'm telling you right now, the people you take your advice from has everything to do with where your mindset is, for sure.
Yeah. One of the very first philosophies I learned that I've held close to my heart ever since was, if you buy somebody's opinion, you buy their lifestyle, which speaks to everything you just said, man.
Yeah.
But hey, Ramon, we're coming up on time here, brother. I'm going to listen to this episode 1,000 times because you were just dropping bombs this whole time. So I appreciate you, bro. But before we let you go, we do like to end every episode with our signature question. And that is, being the Dedicated to Excellence podcast. And you probably already answered this question in 100 different ways, but let's ask it one more time. In your own words, Ramon, what does it mean to live a life dedicated to excellence?
That's a great question. I think that I go back to getting really clear on what you want to accomplish, because in your own life, that is excellence, right? Your version of excellence and what you want to accomplish is not mine. And everyone has their own version, but getting crystal clear on that version and not fooling yourself, waking up every day and trying your absolute best to live up to that standard that you're going to hold yourself to. Just like doing 75 hard, if it's 43 minutes or if it was 45 minutes. Oh, I did the second workout. No, you fucking didn't. You were 2 minutes short. Getting very honest with yourself, defining what excellence and defining what success means to you, and waking up every single day knowing I'm going to leave it all in the field today. I'm going to empty the tank. And I think if you do that, I think that's living a life of excellence.
And that's what we are going to leave on the field for this conversation. Ramon, thank you again so much, brother. Where can people find you and follow your journey?
Yeah, I'm the most active on Instagram. That's going to be Ramon, or at Ramon, RAMON_ABQ.
And then, of course, everyone, be sure to check out Ramon's podcast, the Rocstar Alliance Podcast.
Yeah.
ROC. I'm looking forward to listening to, yes, ROC. We got The Rock in the building.
There you go.
But anyway, brother, again, appreciate you so much. Definitely can't wait to have you back, because I feel like we can talk leadership for hours, man. But hey, yo, continued blessings, bro. Sounds like you're onto some major moves. So excited to see how your journey continues. To everybody listening, appreciate y'all for the love and support that you've been continuing to pour into our show. Hopefully at this pace, we'll get up to like number 30 in the Netherlands, right? Because we have 47 now. So let's really make our way up the charts there. But please subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend. We are on a mission right now to reach this up and comers podcast list, and we're on a great pace. So again, thank you all for the support. Let's keep it coming. On behalf of my co-host Dustin Reyna, I am Eugene Tamampos. We are signing off. We will catch you on the next episode. Stay blessed. Peace.
Peace.